Right. Way back.
Yeah.
Should be in her box now.
Thank you.
No problem.
And can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah. She just,
Oh, Valley tends to have a pink eyes for some reason too.
Oh, it's just fun. I get pink and blue, so look at that. There's color to it.
Is the pink iodine naturally?
This so here. It's like,
It's all NaCl.
yeah, it's got some.
You say iodine can naturally hurt salt too, and plus they add it.
That's interesting. There are salt gatherers and then I guess you can't. How are you?
Good. Well, how are you?
good. Working on the summer music concerts.
Yep.
We're getting musicians lined up.
That's what I'm doing right now. Hope to have
Cool.
most of it by next week.
It's really
Exciting. I appreciate your work on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I agree.
Anybody interested in the slate project?
I've had, when I looked earlier, I've got 27 pieces out right now being painted. So
Oh, okay.
pretty good response.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey,
think-
Brian.
Hey, Josh. Or Jacob.
Yeah.
I think Solaris picked up some and completed ones in Fairmont today. Did she drop them off to you yet or not yet?
She said she was going to keep them over at the studio.
Okay, perfect.
All right, the minutes. So you have the minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, package? Oh, there. I only got one of mine. Thank you. I just picked up the agenda and I didn't get it.
You'll need this?
I don't, do you?
Got one.
One? Oh, bring this.
I think we're just waiting for Kristen. She said she'd be just 2 or 3 minutes late.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you got me flowers. You got me flowers.
Oh, no.
No, no, babe, I want to sit here trying to.
Thank you very much. But you.
Wow.
Do we want to go ahead and get started and then we'll just stop at the treasurer's report for Kristen?
Ready.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have this before.
All right, no worries. All right. All right, let's call this meeting and then I guess let's do we have you guys had a chance to review the minutes for January 12th? Hey, Kristen. So if you guys want to take a minute, if you haven't already reviewed them, if you want to review those, if anybody has a motion to accept those minutes.
I will.
All right, anybody want to second Brian's motion?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I guess we probably should have had discussion somewhere in there. Motion carries. Treasurer's report.
In the account, you have $9,432.13. And it was the deposit on 1/3 of the check for $500 from Miley.
Perfect.
From where?
Miley Legal Group.
That Anna had donated.
Oh, okay.
Good deal.
Nice. Thank you, Emily.
Mm-hmm.
All right, does anybody want to make a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. HPI form survey update. You have anything on that, Kristen?
The only thing is, I want to say after the 2 days of training that we did, I think for our next meeting, I may put on the agenda some things I think we should think about based on some of the. Were you there yesterday? Did you listen to some of that
Yeah.
yesterday? Yeah, just some thoughts about maybe having some formal guidelines like they suggested.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. So why don't you just get with Jacob on that, because I think he's doing our agendas now for our
Okay.
next meeting to make sure that
Okay.
they can make it on our next agenda.
All right.
All right, if we have nothing else on that, cultural center, did Nate take off or is he still in the room? I can't see him.
I'm still here.
You're still there. You're out of view.
Yeah, sorry, I was back
That's
here.
okay.
Not a whole lot to add at this point. We're still working with the architect. I'm owed them an email to talk to them about a rendering that we've got for the front. Again, access issues are the huge sticking point on how we're gonna make this building work from an access standpoint and try to keep it within reason, I think from a cost standpoint. And I don't think, we got three options shared with us, or 2 options, and nobody was in love with any of the looks.
I haven't seen it.
And they weren't really anything worth sharing. It was just kind of showing different elevators.
Was it that bad?
elevator list-
Yeah, we're not
locations.
quite, yeah, I feel like they weren't really, I think they were pretty rough.
Yeah,
Nate, you might not have been there when we discussed this previously, a few
Mhm.
months back, but we had taken a look at that original photo of the steeple
Yeah.
and the possibility of replacing that and putting the elevator in that steeple.
that was kind of one of their proposals. It's just gonna be expensive. And so they tried to move the elevator inside to try to keep that shaft from being out there, and did some work with roofing and like a porch kind of concept. But like I said, I think we're all trying to sit there and say, do elevators require maintenance, certifications every year?
Should do.
Yeah, and so those are big costs
Mhm.
that we want to try to avoid if all possible
Can I ask-
initially.
Ask a question.
Mhm.
Because this building is so old and historical, do we have to have an?
Well, that's one of our follow-up questions for them is
Okay,
get out of this.
We
Okay.
have to have ADA accessibility. Now, whether or not it's an elevator, I think that our previous architect said there's ways around that as long as there's access. I mean, it has to be publicly accessible for anyone. So if we can figure out whether that's a lift or a chair or something, another form of accommodation, it doesn't necessarily have to be an elevator, but ideally it has to be available for everyone, and many people can't do stairs.
So we're trying to figure that out, but we'd like to get it as soon as possible, at least to be able to let people in there and take a look. We're wrapping up still with the contractor, cleaning up the property. They were up there today picking up some shards of slate. We have one property pin that got dislodged during the construction, so I'm gonna have the surveyor come back out there and set that. Probably for a nominal fee. And that should wrap up the roofing project, we hope. So that's about all I have to offer at this point.
We've been working pretty hard at, Jacob and the art studio have been working pretty hard on, the slate fundraiser, getting that slate out to, West Virginia artists, trying to get that back. And I think we finally are starting to get some back in, but we have quite a few people who've taken slate. So I think we're gonna have a pretty good turnout on the slate fundraiser. What's your take on that, Jacob?
No, I mean, same thing. I think last I looked, I've got 27 pieces out that are being painted right now. So there's at least 27 that we'll have.
Yeah, and I think Charlene is planning on, I think she has a couple other people who wanted
What is
some, so.
the fundraiser?
So it's basically taking the old slate roof that was on the plumbing building that was taken off. Now it's over the city garage. And then we're just having West Virginia artists paint on those. And then those are going to end up getting auctioned off with the funds going back towards.
I'll volunteer.
thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's a great idea.
So yeah, I think that's going well. We have a meeting tomorrow, and then I think hopefully we'll have made some more progress after tomorrow's meeting. But I think that's all we have on the cultural center, unless somebody has anything else. Cemetery update, Nate. I really don't have any updates. Does anybody else have anything on the cemetery?
On Arnold?
Yep.
No, I just accept that I think the mowing bids will go out sometime this month for Arnold, Montpelier. The city's gonna try to get out of the mowing bids. Well, we're gonna try to reduce the mowing contracts for parks and stuff. I think we're looking at bringing that in-house, hiring some temps. But for the most part, I think we're gonna try to leave the cemeteries outside of the realm and just have contractors do that again this summer. So that's all I have to offer there.
Okay. All right, quarterly.
Oh, one thing. We've had the final reading on the easement for Greg Vestry's turnaround property up there at the top of the hill at this past meeting. So hopefully that odyssey is now ended and behind us at this point.
Okay, cool. Do we have, is there future plans for actually making that turnaround accessible, or is it still just kind of where it is?
What do you mean accessible?
Well, there's not a turnaround. I haven't been up there since you guys paved it. You guys didn't pave a turnaround or anything, right?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did? Okay, I haven't seen it since you guys paved it. I know that just happened not too long ago, so.
It's 20 by 32, I think, is the dimensions roughly. So
Okay,
it's enough for four vehicles.
Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Nice. Street department's able to turn around their snow plow and that street's being plowed and it's nicely paved and
Then the street department went through the whole cemetery, picked up all the branches, logs, twigs, and that kind of stuff, even the trees that were cut by somebody else.
Perfect.
So I guess we're waiting for direction from you guys. I think maybe Jacob got that on his list for this year is to try to develop some projects there to work on the fencing and be nice to work on the stairs and the entry and stuff like that. So
Yep.
let
I think-
us know.
Okay.
If you want to do some stuff, let's see if we can squeeze her in there.
All right, so I think outside of this meeting, anybody who's interested in working on that, just let us know, because I think Jacob and I are going to be working on that. So anybody else who has an interest in working on that project, we're looking for funding right now. So if we can find grants or anything like that, but if anybody wants to work on that, let us know. The quarterly update. So I finished the end of year report. I sent that out to you guys. It's been submitted to the state and they said everything looked great and they accepted it. So we will be, Jacob actually needs to get with you, Nate, on figuring out how to update our section of the city website, because we need to get that posted on our city website.
Okay. Should we do that? Who
So
had access to that before? Was it me or did Jamie have that?
it was Chelsea, I thought, that actually updated it for us. So I'm not sure how she did it. And I guess I can circle with Chelsea and see, because I'm pretty sure. What?
I can get access. I just was wondering if I needed to cancel someone's out. So I'll get Jacob access to that.
Yeah, I think Chelsea's the only one who has messed with that little section, but we also need to update the members on that section as well, because it still has Rebecca listed.
Okay.
But yeah, so our goal is to get that report up there and then get the link shared, but it's been submitted and accepted. So now we're working on our Q1 2023 newsletter. So those news articles that we had that would have gone in the end of year quarterly will go in that next newsletter that'll go out in March. So that's on the agenda. I've been a little busy. So next week I'll be working on that newsletter. So if you guys have anything to add or want to contribute anything to that newsletter while we're working on the draft for that, just let me know.
is that the one that you sent us previously?
The report?
Yes.
Yes, the report I sent to you probably 2 weeks ago now, maybe it was due at the end of January. So I think I sent it to you that, you know me, the day it was due.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. That's all I have unless somebody has anything else on the quarterly. All right, CLG, that's still sitting on here. Do you have anything to add to that, Kristen, after sitting on the SHPO training this week?
Other than just to say, I think a lot of communities are doing a lot as certified local governments, and I think we're kind of right on par with some of the activities they're doing. I know there were some bigger cities that are, have a lot more comprehensive historic district planning, but I think we're doing good work. I think I'm going to take a look at some of our historic properties that I think should be separate from those historic districts. Maybe the Columbia Club in particular, since it's something that's being worked on. Based on some of the financing and tax credit things they talked about, we may want to think about adding some more individual properties rather than just a district. So, but I would rather do some comprehensive notes and talk about that the next meeting.
Okay.
I got a quick question on that. My house is, four houses down here on North River. And I think it was a 1917 vintage or something like that. I don't know if it's especially historic, but I think it meets the threshold now, right?
It does. It's more than 50 years old.
How, can I just come into our district or how does that work?
You probably could. I don't, we'd have to take a look at what the existing boundaries are because there aren't a lot of properties.
Yeah, on that side of the river, I
Yeah.
don't think we're in there.
Yeah.
yet.
But I actually sent Anna a message during some of this training because we have a lot of communities where there were glass company workers, people working at the state hospital. Those homes are certainly old enough now, right? And so we might think about adding another district. I think Wheeling presented yesterday and they have multiple historic districts and those districts kind of self-govern within themselves. But there's no reason why we can't, keep pressing forward and add additional homes and districts to what we're trying to preserve. And I think, Sherry, you would have been interested in this. They talked about in guidelines, thinking about preserving primarily the front facing pieces of property, right? With the facade grant, I thought that was particularly relevant to what Sherry's working on. So I'm going to put some stuff together and put that on the agenda for next week. So we're kind of comprehensive with some of our programming.
Thank you.
Good deal. Yeah, I thought the first day was really helpful. I've got to finish the second day. I obviously couldn't attend the whole thing, but yeah, it was really helpful. And I know that Meredith with the State Preservation Office is willing to come talk to us about those tax credits and some of the stuff that's available to the city that we haven't leveraged before. She basically told us figure out what we want to do, and she's more than willing to come talk to us.
Yep. I think we should take advantage of anything and everything they're willing to offer.
And this is through the State Historic Preservation Office?
Yes. All right. So I think that's it on certified local government. The only thing that I guess that I will note from the first day of training that they did talk about is goes back to not having letters of appropriateness and stuff. And they just kind of really wanted people to have a clear, and I think we talked about this a little bit at our last meeting, having a defined process with their HLCs. I think that ours is still sort of muddy. So maybe for this year on our agenda is just what is that process? Like, let's get it down on paper. Like, what is the process when it's in the historic district? Just so everybody's on the same page. And when we're submitting that report to the state, we can say, well, this is the process, because Kim, you had a good question, was how many permits come across the HLC? Well, it's kind of, up until recently, it's been kind of muddy on whether or not those permits actually cross the HLC when they're in the historic district, even though by state law or code, I guess, according to the Preservation Office, they should be, So Jacob did create a spreadsheet, so we're going to try to track those a little bit better this year so that we're not, so that it's very organized, but maybe just somewhere in the next couple weeks, maybe next month or two, we can come up with just a clear understanding. I don't think it needs to necessarily be an ordinance or anything, just so that we're all on the same page with what is that process, right? So that we know if a permit comes to Marty, it makes it to our table and we just lay eyes on it, or what that process is, right?
Yeah, that goes back to those guidelines that they were talking about. And I do think we need to have some written guidelines. And they talked about some of these cases being a little more casual. There are some places where somebody wants to tear down something in a historic district and they actually have to have a public meeting and discuss, have you taken appropriate steps to sell your property? And I don't know that we want to go that far, but I do think having a conversation is worthwhile. I mean, you might.
Yes. Everything's on the table at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my only takeaway really from their training session this past week. That's all I have on that. So unless anybody has anything else. Comprehensive plan. Yesterday, the planning commission met, and based on the stuff that we've talked about, and if anybody else has anything to add, I'm just going to draft up kind of the stuff that we've talked about over the past couple of months for the planning commission, so that they can start taking into consideration some of the stuff that we've been discussing here at the HLC for the historic district. But if anybody has anything to add as they're working on the comprehensive plan, just email it to me. I mean, obviously that's a working document and they're going to be working on it for a while, but even some of like what we're talking about, the CLG stuff, things like that. If we need to figure out how we're going to get those into the comprehensive plan and what that looks like, on a 10-year scale, just send me what you think those might be so I can get them over to Dan. We don't really have anything else on the comprehensive plan unless somebody else has anything else they want to add. Okay, Aurora Spa sign. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at that?
Yes, we have a copy of it on there. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Did you see it, Brenda?
A little greener. That's very pretty. That's pretty. So simple as a flower of like.
So
I think so.
this kind of comes up to where that, I know that these signs come to us. I think we just need to make a motion about that we're in agreement that everything looks good. Marty basically sent over saying that he feels it's all in compliance. That's correct, right, Marty?
Yes,
Okay, so if somebody wants to make a motion to accept the Aurora Spa sign permit, that would be great.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
And I take it you represent our spa.
Actually, it's my daughter is 20 years old. She's gonna be the owner and I'm the investor and the contractor. So I made a over 100-year-old building, brand new from ceiling, walls, floors, electric.
Wow.
Wow.
Great.
And it's not even my building. And also there's gonna be a new awning that'll match that sign, currently red, but it'll be a nice light green and it'll make Main Street just light up.
Awesome.
Nice.
Appreciate your time.
Very good.
All that you need from me.
Have you already ordered the awning?
Yes, been ordered and it's very expensive. It's $8,000 awning for a city of Weston.
But you'll look good.
It'll look good.
Awesome.
Oh, you have to make it look, smell and taste right.
She do.
Gonna get a little class and a lot of people wanting to come to Weston to experience this. So it's not just like your massage, right? There's all kinds of things. So hopefully you'll stop by, check it out.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We should probably also share, if the chamber does a ribbon cutting for them, we should probably also share that. I haven't seen anything about it yet, but we could reach out to them and find out, just to make sure we share their announcement for their ribbon cutting when they do it.
We might want to do a newsletter article about
The sign.
the sign and them and the building.
The business.
Yeah, the whole thing.
I mean, so that's a good, if we want to add something for that, I mean, that would actually be good for this coming quarterly. It would be good, we don't have a ton of people reading our newsletter, but those who do, at least they'll know what's going in downtown. I think it's a good idea.
When you send out the letter with the sanitary bills newsletter, HLCs?
Mhm.
Does it go out with the sanitary bills?
No.
currently? Would you guys like for us to do that?
I don't think they would appreciate it because they told me they have to hand fold all those, so they might hate us for that, but I mean, I think it would
Oh,
be
no, give us the us, we'll fold them.
Judy wouldn't mind.
Won't we, Nate?
No.
Yeah, I think it would be really nice to do that. A lot of people have asked
Love you,
for
Judy.
copies
You
of
didn't
it.
mean it.
It's not, we don't do
Your
color.
meeting is gonna be on my grid.
The other thing is, Jacob, when we get that access to the city website, if we could post those older ones, because I have been emailing a lot of people. I have a list of people that I email them out to every time we put a new one out, but it would be nice if we could just also post the link to the, back to the HLC section of the website as we post those as well. Because a lot of people have asked for the previous newsletters. So right now we just have the 2021 end of year report on there. So it'd be good to add the 22 and then maybe those newsletters, just so in case people want to read them, they're accessible.
How many mailings would that be, Nate?
About 4,000, though, we print off.
I mean,
The next one goes what out at the end of March, 1st of April. So if she gets it.
That's our regular newsletter, though.
Yeah.
When's the next HLC newsletter?
March. I mean, it really, it's quarterly. We just, the end of the year one, we do our report, our annual report versus the quarterly. So it's basically first, second, and third, and then we do our end of year report. So March. I mean, really, if we need it done sooner, we can get it done sooner, so it goes out in those. When would you have to have them by, Judy?
She does them the second week of the
Second
month.
week of the month.
So if we got it done by the end of next week, that would be enough time to get
Is
those?
that gonna conflict with the city newsletter? The city newsletter's next month, right?
Right. The next
Yeah.
quarter, yeah.
You want to delay the city newsletter? Or we wanna-
Well, we can. I think that the HLC newsletter is good information for people to have.
Well, I thought one of them could be 1 month, right? And the other one could be
Yeah.
the other month. I don't think it's a hurry.
And we only do ours quarterly, so,
Well, it's the same for the city, but I
okay,
think our quarter is the same one. What I'm saying, I think we're both
Gotcha.
in the month,
Yeah, the same quarter.
yeah.
in opposite or stagger a little bit.
Yeah, we could push the cities a month back.
Then we want to get we want to put the concert series dates and hopefully packs, once we get that finalized, we want to put that in the newsletter too, to send out to everybody, or out to everybody, not.
With their sanitary board bill, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I appreciate it. Do we have anything on the history bowl, Nate? It's on the agenda still.
I never got any response back from the middle school, and I'm sure it's come and gone. But I'd love for us to do that next year. My wife was the spelling bee coordinator, and we had spelling bee. I say we, because it's a family thing, seemingly. But the Lewis County Spelling Bee was at the Masonic Temple, and it was a real good turnout this year. And I think it wasn't years past, but the Masonic Temple is a little bit more cozier than the auditorium at the high school. And just the ambiance and all that stuff's a little bit better, I think. And so I think if we could get in the habit, get somebody over at the middle school to join with us to have a history bowl competition next year. That happens every year in February, from what I understand. I think that'd be a good thing for us to sponsor and be a part of if we could do it.
Can you give Jacob the name of who the history, do you know who the history teachers are over there so that we could?
Yeah, I blanket emailed them all, and everybody was too busy and all that stuff.
That's kind of what happens with the high school too. We sort of get the same. I think that's what's happening right now with like the summer concert series, trying to get LC Blues there. We're not really getting much response. And same thing with the art stuff. They said they wanted high school kids to participate, but then we can't get any of them to actually communicate with us. So it's a little difficult.
Maybe we just need to walk up, Jacob, and do some cold calling.
Mark Lynch,
Go up there tomorrow.
have you talked with Mark Lynch?
He's sick. Senator Jameson's going to LC.
Okay.
He's like offering some special treatments and stuff.
Oh, that's a shame. That's who I dealt with for the Independence Day.
Where
And
did
he.
Dave Bush teach?
mentor, I
Psychology.
guess.
History?
Oh, in history,
No,
He was in.
Dave.
Dave Bush.
Yeah, he was a history
I
teacher.
didn't know if it was history, was
Yeah.
it?
At some point, I think so.
That might be somebody to look
It was
at
psychology.
for history.
Same here.
History Bowl is just, it's a middle school competition.
Right.
Like 8th graders. And so when I talk to the teachers, they're like, well, all of our students are in sports and you can't get anybody to show up and all this other stuff. But each school, I understood, both 8th graders from St. Pat's and 8th graders from Robert Bland could have a team win. And so the thought was we'd have a contest and try to get multiple teams. It's kind of like Jeopardy.
Mhm.
3 people on your team and everybody gets a buzzer, and there's West Virginia history questions and they buzz in and they have this competition. And so then you could win that local contest and go to the state contest or regional contest.
I think you talked to Dave Bush about that. He might be interested in something like that.
You probably
Maybe
it's
he was
just
tired, he wouldn't be tied
didn't
down.
have any access to the students to be able to solicit. That was the biggest thing.
But he is, I think, on the Board of Education
School
still.
board,
Yeah,
you're right.
he's a BOE.
So he might be in more communication with the teachers. I don't know.
Or Adam Gissy.
For the history?
He's on
He's
the
in
board.
contact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the spelling bee is sponsored by the Weston Democrat. I thought the history bowl could maybe be sponsored by
The
historic.
HLC.
Weston
Yeah, no, I
Historic
think it's a good idea.
Society.
Well,
Don't have any really technology that does that
we
kind
know
of
it's
stuff.
next February, so why don't we just try to get on the radar and just make it a thing, see if we can get them to agree to do it, and then we can work with them and just, I mean, if we just plan to do it, maybe they'll do it.
Is that something we can partner with the Hackers Creek Pioneer Descendants out there too?
Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
got
worth
tons of
talking to 'em.
out there.
think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's worth talking to him about.
They invite them and Dave to our next meeting.
We could do that. But yeah, if you have that contact information, I guess if you want to get it to me or Jacob, Nate, just who you spoke to, and then we can just try to get it on the radar for next year. So
I'll
that-
forward you the email chain I sent, and I ended up having to call the school, see if they had the right emails, like, yeah, we're getting your emails, but.
We're just not responding to them.
Exactly right. That's exactly how it went.
Yeah. Sadly, I feel that one.
You
All right.
will love-
The
Wow.
facade, is there anything else on the history bowl? Or are we good? You good? Okay, facade grant. I submitted the Paul Braun grant on Tuesday, so we won't know for probably 6 weeks about that one. They only are awarding 10 this year. Last year Willing was awarded it. And so, you know, hopefully we get it, but I'm just letting you guys know they're only doing 10 across the entire country this year. But it has been submitted. So if we don't apply, we don't, you know, we won't get it for sure, but we've definitely submitted it.
How much is that for, Anna?
It's up to 750,000. Yeah, it's huge. So I will tell you this, I looked at who they've awarded. They tend to award communities that have already got a program in place. So maybe this year, the fact that we're getting one in place, if we, let's say we don't get it this year, I think if we have planned to apply again for this one next year, it looks to me like they tend to approve people who already have a program in place and are looking to, that can show that they successfully have a facade grant program and they're trying to infuse it with more money is essentially what it looks like they're funding, because Wheeling already had one in place when they got it approved. And it looks like most of the communities that get awarded it already have a successful program in place. They're just looking for funds to make it better. I don't know that that's always how they award it, and it doesn't say that that's a requirement, but when you look at who's been awarded it, that's what the ones that seem to be getting the money are ones that have showed that they have a successful program. I did send a draft to Judy of just kind of the cleaned up. It's the exact same content you sent me, Sherry, with the updated content. All I did was add kind of a cover letter to it and just made all the font the same font and stuff. So if there's any changes you guys want made to that, I mean, I basically just threw it together. So if there's anything you want edited or changed, or if you don't like it, we can do something different.
I think it looks great. I'm wondering, and maybe I'm overthinking this, and as I do many times, and if I am, please let me know. Under who can apply for funding? Improvements must be made on the facade of the building facing a primary street orientation, or if on a corner lot, the facades facing the two streets of primary orientation. So I understand that we have to include that in this text because of, particularly when you come down to the hard landscaping, you want the front to be addressed. And that's the purpose of this. It truly is. But then there are, like if somebody's going to paint the entire house, I just wonder if people would raise questions about that. If they're going to think, well, they're only going to help me paint the front of the house, you know, that's just. I don't know how to word that, and I don't know if.
I can revisit, like maybe we can just add in a sentence like that says for it to qualify, the property has to face, because the one thing we don't want is somebody to say, well, I want to re-side the back of my house, right? It needs new siding, but it's only going to be seen from my backyard, right? So
exactly.
Like
and I
that
see
would-
what's in there. I just was wondering.
and maybe we just do like a Q&A like page, like a supplemental Q&A page, like, sometimes like I know the city of Buchanan has one, like what will we fund? It's like just a Q&A page, like what are some example of projects? So maybe it's not necessarily part of this verbiage, but maybe we just do like a little handout that's like up on the website and it can be sent out with the application that just says like Q&A, like what are some projects we will fund, and that might be a line item. Does the entire, does this mean you'll only fund stuff facing the street? And we can spell out no, but a portion of the work needs to be facing that facade. So, because obviously if somebody wants to paint their whole house and it's $10,000 to paint their whole house, we're not going to say, well, we're only going to pay for a quarter of it because it's facing the
Right,
street,
exactly. I just didn't want someone to interpret it as that,
right?
Um,
I mean, we could think about we could even think about how to reword that sentence just so it's a little more clear. Like the project has to be, I don't know. There's got to be a way we can make that a little easier.
sure. Nate, my goal was to have this submitted to council by budget time. And it's upon us.
Right.
So can
So-
we submit it the way it is? And I mean, we can clean up that one sentence. Is it in a condition that you feel it's okay for them to approve the program?
I do. I do. I think you've done a wonderful job. I really appreciate it. I think that, yes, I do. Nate, your thoughts?
Well, like, our budget really isn't set till July 1, right? When we have our rollover money, as you say. I tell all our department heads, we do it in March, this is our budget projecting, but then we got to make it to July 1. That's when the real budget gets set, because that's how we know how much carryover funds is. I think you've got that much time. Like, now's the time to submit it and get that space carved out in the budget for the program. And then you don't really have to be ready for prime time because the funds won't technically be available until July 1.
So we can submit this to council now.
So
As a draft program? I
you
think that's a
guys
good
feel
idea.
like it's, well hashed out and not much is gonna change, why not?
Yeah, I do. And so we could have it maybe on our March agenda.
Just remind us.
Kim? What are you
Yeah.
thinking?
If
Yeah,
the-
I think.
I'd say take a vote at the commission or in your group here and recommend it to that.
Yes,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
did not want to take it to council without a vote from the HLC, of
I
course.
vote we submit it to the council for approval.
I do.
So do we
Okay.
want to vote to go ahead and submit this draft for the program to council? Because the council might even look at it and say they have some recommendations they want added or included as well when we're making the final documentation.
And Kristen made that motion and Brian second.
Okay, so all in favor? Say
Aye.
Is the sheet with the pictures, does that go to? There's a couple of typos on there. Are we working on that, Anna?
I'm sorry, can you restate that? I'm sorry.
The sheet that has the photos on it,
The sheet.
do you have that? That you can, who's got that?
She did.
I mean.
The one that I just sent to Judy?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Anna has
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I have that. I can send it to everybody electronically. If that's what you're asking me, Kristen. I just did
Okay.
that today. I just tried to clean that up today because we had talked about
Okay.
it a little more polished before we give it to council.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple of notes. There's just a couple little things.
Yeah, yep. And like I said, it's basically just a draft. So yeah, if there's anything you want
Right.
to add or change on that, and then who do we need to get that to? Judy?
Yes, and then the last page with the application, it says, it has the person, I guess, if it's not the property owner who is submitting it, is that for like someone who's maybe submitting it for a property owner?
No, I think we had that when it still said leaseor. I just don't think, because we had it for tenants. I just think that didn't get modified. I think that needs to be changed properly, probably just to say property owner, don't you think?
Yeah,
Because we had changed that content last month, but I don't think that section, I didn't change really any of the content. I just added the phone number at the end of it. I didn't mess with any of the text, so.
I think it looks pretty good. Kristen, what do you think?
I think it looks really good.
Other than, I remember because initially we're thinking that we would allow renters to do this, and then
We changed our mind,
we changed our minds
Yeah.
because we came up with that.
So I think that just needs cleaned up, and we can just clean that up before I send a final draft to Judy, if that works.
Did you have a question, Brenda?
I just wondered, do these have to be improvements that are within the historic nature of the building, or is it any improvement?
They have to follow zoning, so it can be any facade improvements, like we're talking, like most of them are. I think this is gonna be a question that we get a lot, so maybe that Q&A page, when we send this out to the public, is gonna be really helpful. Like, what are some examples of projects that are included? You know, painting your house, fixing, you know, a front porch, roofing,
That's not-
you know,
Yeah,
on.
that's not exactly what I'm saying.
So
Okay.
we don't,
Like,
we
I'm
don't
saying-
presently have existing guidelines
Yeah.
for homes in the historic district. That's one of the things I'm gonna put on the next agenda. You know, do we need, particularly with a grant like this, we might want to start coming up with guidelines, but
They are,
today-
they're in our zoning.
I
We
mean, these
do-
are just questions. I'm not criticizing.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are questions that just come
Sure.
to my mind.
Sure.
If I want to rip the historic porch off my house and build a deck, will you help me?
No.
No,
Okay.
and it already
That's
said.
No, if I want to paint my house lavender and that's inappropriate to the period, will you help me? Will you pay for it?
These are good questions that she
I don't think we have a guideline in place
'Cause
that
I
would
don't-
control.
Yeah, I don't
What
see.
color?
paint
Yeah.
color.
Yeah,
It's fine
paint
if-
color is not, is excluded. Ours says has to follow
That's-
zoning.
But if you're looking to make things more consistent with the historic nature of the property, then I guess it has to be spelled out.
That's true.
So, but other than that, it looks really cool and I'm sorry to have a problem.
No,
It's
no.
not.
It's a
No, and-
wonderful idea.
I do
That's
think,
why I hand a paper to a writer.
yep, I do think that it should be, I think that we should maybe clarify that a little bit, but I think somewhere in there we said it had to be in line with our zoning, and zoning basically says that, you know,
Yes.
trying to preserve the historic nature. We didn't really spell that out in this.
Yeah,
paper.
but we
As an
don't, that's,
ordinary person, the word zoning doesn't
Yeah.
convey anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
yeah, and
Like, zoning is like, well, it's a house and I live in it. Why can't I rip off the porch? You
Yeah.
know, zoning means I can't have a store in it. Okay, I understand that. But to actually come out and explicitly say, you know, this is what is meant.
And I think that we could probably tackle that by adding some, like a sentence or two in there about, you know. that's-
Historical nature.
Exactly, something like that. So maybe that would be a good idea.
yeah, and I really want us to address this at the next meeting, because that they spent a lot of time talking about those guidelines.
Yep.
Is you can't just say
Yes, we
consistent with
included that.
historic nature, you know, you have to have
Art, landscape.
guidelines of the
structural,
group in place
landscape
so that you're
stuff,
making
sidewalks,
even-handed
fencing.
decisions about who can do what with their
That
property.
makes sense.
Yep. Okay, well, I think, let's, I guess, do you wanna, well, was anybody opposed to sending this to council? Let's finish that vote. I don't think we actually finished voting.
Oh, we need to vote.
Can we amend
Well, we
that
had
vote?
it, what was that? I'm sorry, Nate.
We amend that motion to have the city attorney review this before it goes to council, just to make sure that something like that, maybe we're not treating somebody equitably. I haven't read it, but
So can we amend the vote to say upon city council's approval and the modifications to the grammar corrections that we need to make, we're ready to go ahead and submit this. That way we can get Brian to lay eyes on it, and we can clean up those grammatical issues that need cleared up on there. And then that way, 'cause we don't meet again. We don't meet again until before the council meeting, so.
I move that pending grammatical changes, we move this application through the city attorney onto city council.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion, or are we good to go ahead and vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I think we're good. And I do think that clarification, maybe Brian can give us the sentence that would be appropriate, you know,
Yes.
without us having those ordinances in place. What is that sentence that we can put in there, right? Like, because we don't have those guidelines. So. All right.
Anna, can you send that to Brian as well?
Yes, well, let's clean up those few grammar things. I'll get those done
Sure.
tomorrow, and then I'll go ahead and send it over to him tomorrow if that's okay with you. And then I
That's
think Kristen had a couple grammar things she wanted to correct.
Yes. Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Let's see here. Where are we at? Street sign project.
Sign project, and no one's here with that. I don't.
Debbie sent a message and said she was sorry she couldn't make it this evening and requested that we table it till next month's meeting.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and carry that to our next agenda, if that's okay with everybody.
Want a motion to table?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have any, I don't think we have any action items, but yeah, let's just go ahead and table that.
Okay.
All motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I think that takes us to public comment.
Brenda.
Brenda, you're on public today.
Starting to see all these things I've always wanted to have happen. You know,
That's
in
very
22
nice, Brenda.
years, and stuff that I've just tried in my own education, move forward and talk about it, encourage, and now an awful lot of it is happening, and thank you.
We're very glad to
Thank
have you
you.
here. We,
Oh, well, thank you.
we actually discussed, we wished you were here last.
I
know.
I'm happy better.
Yes.
They come.
I told them that
We
you
really,
were-
really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Really do.
I think we probably should have had this on our agenda, but just so that everybody's aware, Jacob did get 2 of the home walking tours up on Clio in the past
I
2
saw
weeks.
that.
So,
Yeah.
you know, obviously there's room for improvement and adding more content about those properties as we obtain that information, but at least they're live. And I know the Military Museum was very appreciative of being added to a tour. So, and I've had some interesting feedback about that from people like, are we going to be doing interior, you know, tours? I think was one that was posted today. And, you know, I think maybe of more public spaces, that's a great idea. I'm not sure about people's private homes unless we wanted to do like a tour of homes or something that like so many people signed up for later on down the road. But really, do you really want to be giving people layouts of your home open on the public? I mean, I feel like that opens you up to some issues.
Not in today's world.
Marty, I think, had something to say during public comment. I'm
What's up,
sorry,
Marty?
Anna.
That's okay.
I wanted to bring you up to date because the building, this 210 North River next to you, Anna, is in the historic district.
Yep.
But the shape the building's in and all that kind of stuff, we can't, by FEMA rules, we can't even try to fix it because it costs more than 50% of the current market value and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So it's out for bid right now to come down. And I just got an email back from SHPO today. I called them this morning. I'm supposed to have their approval next week.
Okay.
I mean, because it's in the historic district, I thought we ought to at least mention it, but the funding for that should be coming through about the end of March. So I'm looking around the beginning of April to be able to pull it down.
The only thing that scares me about that is my one wall that's like right next to it.
Did you get the email I sent you earlier today?
I did. I saw it right before this meeting. I haven't had a chance to respond to it. I like glanced at it right before getting on this call.
Okay. Yeah, the guys that all looked at it said they think they can pull that away without harming your wall any, but they'd like to take a couple precautions, and I mentioned it to you in the email.
Okay. Yeah.
And the utilities are all either disconnected or in the process of being disconnected, and they're going to be out tomorrow to move the phone line. So you may be without phone.
I have Chantel. I don't think it'll affect us at all because we have Chantel. We don't have Frontier, so I think we'll be okay. But I did want to, maybe tomorrow, if you have a few minutes to talk to me, I just wanted to circle back with you about the electric because Mon was supposed to be dropping power from that pole for my upstairs at some point. So,
Yes.
and I don't, they just never
Mon
got.
Power has work orders for this, so I'm just waiting for them to respond. But
Okay.
the work order, so.
Okay, so maybe you and I can just touch base tomorrow. Yeah, like I said, the only thing that scares me is that one wall of theirs taking down my wall, but yeah, if we can.
Me too, but you can see daylight through there, so they.
Oh
think
yeah,
they
I
can-
know there's a good 3 inches between my wall and their wall, but 3 inches is a little scary when you're hitting something with a backhoe, so.
Right. Well, once you read the email, then give me a call on my cell phone tomorrow, and we can discuss the particulars.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good, but yeah, I mean, as far as the building goes, I mean, when I first was dealing with my building over there, I had several contractors look at that building and they all basically said it was a disaster, so.
It's gotta come down, so.
Yeah, it's not safe. Okay,
I just thought I'd mention it because it is in a historic district.
okay, yeah.
Jacob's got some stuff to add. Go ahead, Jacob.
What do you want me to talk about? Good, I couldn't see what you're mouthing to me.
The painting and the architectural or the ADA stuff for this building.
Yeah, so the painting bids went out, came back. My understanding they got awarded the other night at city council. So this building will be painted hopefully May, June at the latest. As far as the ADA accessibility studies, I was actually going to talk to you because I reached out to a few more people today.
Bring everybody up.
I got back from 4 different architects and engineers around the state about coming in and doing an evaluation of this building, about bringing it up to ADA compliance and everything. So I'll just have to get you, I mean, if you want those particular numbers, I can get with you tomorrow about it, but
And so Jacob's heading up this effort. We want to have the bathrooms, probably all our entrances. We want to do some remodeling, but we also want to try to get the second floor accessible. We'd love to move. My goal is to move the meeting room up to where my office is upstairs. It's a lot bigger room. Council meet there and things of that nature. But from my understanding, we've got some aid. Well, obviously, there's no way to get anybody up there with a wheelchair at this point. There's no elevator or chairlift or anything like that. So we're going to look at like $1,500 we thought today was kind of some of the pricing.
so I talked to the people, one people I'm waiting to hear back from is Chapman over in Buchanan.
Mhm.
He said tentatively they would be able to come over and provide us a brief report free of charge for that.
Okay.
But yeah, the 1,500 was the other one that was the cheapest. Then everything else was up to $7,500, $8,000 coming into that. So
I wonder if that might be something that is appropriate for one of the 2 grants, Anna, that they talked about, with SHPA.
Could be, yeah, because I think one of them specifically focuses on ADA.
I think it does. I'll send you guys an email.
You know, we have those grants that we've been applying for through, I think it's SHPA, right, for the Columbia Club. Could we apply for a grant for the elevator shaft too,
That's what I'm thinking. That's-
as a second application? I
For
guess?
the facilities grant or for a different, there's another one.
There, let me go back and look at that and I'll send you an email because I do think it would be appropriate.
And I think the city could apply directly for that one. I don't think it necessarily has to be the HLC. I think the city can apply directly because they own the building.
Yep.
All right, anything else?
Did we, I know I was a couple minutes
Catapult
late. Did we
people.
have a new person? We had an application, right, for a new member?
And it was approved. I left a message. I don't
Okay.
have her email address to send it to her. Hopefully she will return it.
Okay.
And did she submit a resume? I didn't see a resume. Was there a resume?
No.
Because I think state code requires a resume to be attached to the HLC applications, and I didn't see a resume. So, when I fill out next year's report, it's gonna demand that it's gonna ask me that same question. Did they apply with a resume and how was that scrutinized? So we got to make sure that that we at least obtain their resume.
Intensely.
What's that?
Intensely. That's how it was scrutinized.
All right, I'll just put that on the thing. I'll put it intensely, Nate. All right, well, if we don't have anything else, I think that brings us to our next meeting date. Does that put us on the 9th of March, I think? Let me look.
Yes.
Okay, so if there's nothing further, if somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn, I think we're good for tonight.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you're all free. All right, thank you, guys. I'll get that over to you tomorrow, Judy, with the cleaned up, and then Kristen, if you have a chance to send me whatever changes you want on that.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll get it over to her tomorrow.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Anna. I'm logging off.
All right, thanks, bye.